Well, we simply have to look around the world at the consequence of prohibition that the world has been on of all narcotics back from 1961, and that got put into law in the United Kingdom in 1971. And what we've seen is the situation in the United Kingdom change very, very much for the worst in terms of policy outcomes. That's also true for the rest of the world. And so we have gradually seen, in effect, a global catastrophe overtake us in terms of the consequences of our drug policy and prohibition. And if people need to simply think back to the United States in the 1920s, that famously prohibited alcohol, and just need to remember that alcohol is a drug. It's actually quite a dangerous drug by comparison with many other drugs that people are able to get their hands on. And humanity has for millennia sought to make itself feel better in one form or another. And we have a judgment to make about whether prohibiting things absolutely, and with the terrible consequences we've now seen of that, is actually the best way to go. And now around the world there is a group of the Global Commission on Drugs Policy consisting of retired presidents and former prime ministers of countries all around the world who have come to the conclusion actually that what they have presided over was a disaster and policy needs to change. And I want my group is there to be part of that conversation to say there is another way of doing this. Let's have a proper look at what is happening, all sorts of drug policy. But one of the areas of immediate concern is the positives that we have foregone by going down this approach. That there are new medical treatments using some of the drugs that have been caught by the global narcotic ban, declared 50 years ago of no interest medically at all, that now turn out to be of very considerable interest medically, and that we could be treating things like depression, trauma and addiction far more effectively had we invested and done the research in these areas. And those are some of the positives, opportunities that we need to take in changing drugs policy, as well as addressing some of the great challenges around a criminal justice approach.